Before we get started, I want to remind everyone that the information in this presentation is not to be or construed as investment advice. The information presented are subject to change without notice, and while we have made every reasonable effort to ensure that the content is reliable and accurate, we have not independently verified the content and are not responsible for errors therein. Please consult a professional advisor before putting a loonie in any of these financial markets. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the IceCap Canadian Market Wrap with me, Richard Diaz. Each week, we'll discuss different macroeconomic and financial market themes and how they affect Canadians and Canada. This week's episode is episode 3, Canada's Business Investment Blues. This episode will be split up into 4 sections. Broadly, what is investment? What's happening to Canadian investment? Why Canadians should care? And as usual, what does it mean for investors? So let's get started with the first section. What is investment? Investment's also known as capital expenditure or CAPEX if you're a finance bro. And us econ nerds like to call it gross fixed capital formation. But it all sort of means the same kind of thing. On the following slide here, I've written down and showed you with these cute little pictures different types of CAPEX, capital investment, or gross fixed capital formation. And this includes equipment and machinery, cars and trucks, land, patents, R&Ds. You can see the list is quite extensive. It covers a broad range of different things. And that's an important starting point before we move on to what's happening, how it fits in, and what's going on in Canada. So where does investment fit in? I like to use the GDP expenditure approach. It's the most intuitive, and it's probably the easiest to calculate. It's why a lot of economists tend to use it. Is it flawed as a concept? Yes. Is it useful? Also yes. And so for our purposes, we're going to focus on the I, and that I comes from business investment. As you can see in the formula, GDP is a combination of consumer spending, business investments, government spending, which also includes CAPEX, and net exports. This is what we'll be focused on today, business investment, what's going on, why, and maybe what we can do to change what's the direction. So what is happening to Canadian CAPEX? Not much. In the following chart, we've got real gross fixed capital formation or investment plotted from 2006 all the way to now. And that blue line is the total. So it includes public and private investment in all manner of different things. And we'll get to that in a second. But what you can see from this chart is this blue line has basically been unchanged when you account for inflation or in real terms for almost 12 or 13 years. And that is terrible. And I'll explain to you why in a minute. But yeah, just as a starting point, we need to recognize sort of what's going on. The other 2 lines on this chart are the red line, which is private or business CAPEX, and the gray line, which is government, including some nonprofits, but that's very small. And as you can see, the red line is on the left-hand scale, and the gray line is on the right-hand scale, and these scales actually have the same magnitude, and I've done that to show you sort of how important the overall business CAPEX is to the top line number or to this blue number. And you can see the differences in number, which is the business is basically 4 times that of government. Nevertheless, you can see it's flat, and it has been, even though it's been quite cyclical. So how do we compare? How does this compare to other countries? Now, I've used US and Mexico, and some might argue this is maybe an unfair comparison. The US is an economy that's about 10 times the size of Canada, both in population and in GDP. And Mexico is an emerging market or a developing market with a much lower GDP per capita. Nevertheless, I chose these 2 countries because they're in North America and our economies are inextricably linked, both from an energy standpoint, rail, as we've learned recently. We have the NAFTA agreement or whatever it's called now. And Mexico and the US are 2 of our largest trading partners. And as you can see on this chart, real gross fixed capital formation in Canada has been flat, like we mentioned before, whereas in the US, it's absolutely soared since we dislocated from them in 2014, 2015. Mexico, the gray line, you can see was also quite moribund for a long time. And until recently, because of things like friendshoring or nearshoring, which are a product of the CHIPS Act for America and the Inflation Reduction Act, which is trying to pull investment and supply chains away from China, which is a strategic competitor of the United States, towards its allies. And the bulk of this, you can see from the chart that the bulk of sort of this renewed investment focus has in fact been Mexico, and they've really been able to take advantage of this sort of nearshoring and friendshoring, whereas Canada I mean, as the chart is very clear, just hasn't been able to do so. So it's not all bad. I mean, government investment has recovered. In the first chart that I show you, there was a red line and a gray line. This here is basically a breakdown of that gray line. What's going on in government investment? So in general, using these national income accounts from the expenditure approach, you can see that this investment is broken down into construction, machinery, and intellectual property. This is true for private investment as well. Here you can see the bulk of it is in construction, nearly twice that of the other two components. And on the right-hand side, I've rebased the chart so you can see the growth sort of compared one another. So you can see each component and how well they're doing. And the truth is, they've all really recovered. I mean, even construction, which is basically back almost to its 2010 high, again, in real terms, accounting for inflation. So what's the problem with Canada? The problem in Canada is private sector investment. On the left-hand side of this chart, you can see again the total in real terms of private gross fixed capital formation was growing for nearly 25 years. And in 2010, 2015, it started to basically stop. And you can see it's been flat for, these are my very sophisticated lines here, but to highlight the point that we are now no longer growing our fixed capital formation. Again, just like with the government, it's dominated by construction. This includes non-residential and residential structures. And then at the bottom here, you can see machinery and equipment, which again, if you're keen observers will see that it's actually been flat as well, and intellectual property. On the right-hand side, I did the same thing. I rebased the series so you can see really the co-movement of these different components. And actually, there is some positives here. Intellectual property products, which includes things like research and development, as well as software, has in fact grown, and it's actually now at an all-time high. So that's an unambiguously good thing. Unfortunately, the larger components, which can include construction and machinery, continue to lag, and in some cases are actually in outright decline. So why aren't companies investing? I mean, there's rather obvious things that I think we just need to hit on the head right away, which is Canada is, saddled with some significant overregulation. There are some weird and wonderful interprovincial treaties and trade restrictions that I think really hurt Canada's investment prospects. Taxes, as recently as the capital gains tax hike is definitely not something that will encourage a renewed investment, but in general, taxes are quite onerous. Canada used to have a much lower corporate tax rate relative to the United States, but that's been eroded away over the last few years. There's a natural infrastructure and geography component. Canada's very wide and relatively narrow with respect to where people live. Even though Canada's a big country, we're all sort of crammed at the border. There's a housing bubble, which siphoned away billions of dollars away from sort of other more productive uses of that capital. There's the labor substitution effect. When you import lots of cheap labor, companies have less incentive to invest in CAPEX or machinery and equipment to improve their productivity growth. There's crowding out by the public sector. So Canada's healthcare sector and education sector, for an example, are dominated by the public sector. And in general, that tends to crowd out private investment. And then there's anti-oil politicking, which is, I think, really something that we can't escape. Canada is a petro country, a petro currency, and we are the fourth largest producer of oil in the world. And the politics around oil and fossil fuels have really obviously discouraged investment in that area. So what are the unintended consequences of the housing bubble? I mentioned that briefly, which is Tiff Macklem, in his infinite wisdom during the pandemic, said that interest rates would be low for a long time. This had the unintended consequences of boosting massive investment into housing, I would argue at the detriment to other types of capital investment, non-residential structures, plants, equipment, and intellectual property. And you can see Canada has not only a bubble, but a lots of money piling in. And how I can describe that money piling in is this ownership transfer component. This includes things like taxes, regulatory fees, money for lawyers, on and on and on. And you can see that this massive jump was quite costly, in my view, directly contributed to lack of investment in other sectors. People were chasing the speculative bubble for not numerous reasons, but nevertheless, that is the outcome. So why has residential CAPEX stalled? Number one, interest rates have started to rise, making the cost of projects more difficult for investors to accept. The returns on those investments have declined as house prices have stopped rising. There's restrictions on home building and regulation around that. I think regulation is a real big problem in Canada. We obviously don't like to admit that, but that's the reality. And of course, more recently, the housing bubble has popped. There's been a psychological break, in my view, around housing and house prices that has changed investors' perception. But I think ultimately it's really interest rates and how that's basically changed the math. So why should Canadians care? CAPEX is vital. It's vital for improving productive capacity. It's important for replacing depreciated assets and capital and old and worn out equipment. It stimulates innovation. It creates jobs. It supports long-term growth, sustainable growth. It attracts foreign investment. You know, the more that investors and other countries feel that Canada is a good place to invest, the more money that will pour in here. And of course, vice versa. We'll get to that in a second. And when you improve your productivity and improve the productivity of the laborers in that economy, you can increase competitiveness, and it becomes a virtuous circle. You become an even more interesting and effective economy, which attracts even more investment, and that cycle can become a virtuous one. So why am I sort of obsessed with capital investment, gross fixed capital formation, and all that stuff? The reason I think it's because I think it's a contributor to why Canada has lagged so badly on the productivity scale. Carolyn Rogers in March of 2024 wrote a speech called "Time to Break the Glass: Fixing Canada's Productivity Problem." And she mentioned 4 things that are really holding Canada's productivity back. Overregulation, which we discussed, lack of competition, which is related, of course, to underinvestment and labor mismatch. There's another video on immigration and the labor mismatch, but we're going to focus on underinvestment. And it's not, in my view, it's not a total coincidence that Canada's GDP per capita started to lag America's when our business investment started to stall. And as I showed you in the other chart, it was basically going up and up and up. And in 2011, 12, 13, 14, it started to really stall out. And that, in my view, is a contributing factor to weak labor productivity. If you invest in people and by creating an environment where your workers can improve their productivity, in general, your economy should be more productive. That's pretty obvious. One thing that's really important, and this is a quote from the RBC economics team, is how badly we are lagging behind. Canadian businesses invest substantially less than in the US, about half as much per worker in aggregate. I mean, that's an incredible indictment on our economy. And in my view, unless we get this sorted out, unless we make Canada a more enticing place for investors to come and deposit their money and invest capital, I think we're going to continue to have significant productivity problems. So what does it mean for investors? I think I alluded to it in the previous slide, but investors are just simply going to where places are more attractive, whether it's from a regulatory perspective, whether from its tax perspective, whether it's a return on investment perspective. They're going to go to where their capital can return more money to investors. And I think that that's a vital concern to Canadians and certainly investors, because those flows are very important. Over here, I have this chart called capital flight, and it shows the net investment outflows. And as you can see, when it's positive, when it's strong, it means more money is leaving Canada than is entering Canada. And as you can see, it's basically at a 24-year high. And then this year, or the first quarter of this year, was especially bad. It's an FDI into Canada fell by $3.4 billion in the first quarter. It's the largest one-quarter decline since 2010. That data comes from Means and Ways, an interesting website. I recommend you check it out. But it basically reiterates a lot of the headlines that we're seeing, which is that foreign investors, and I would argue that domestic investors, are also finding greener pastures to invest. Unless Canada sorts out this investment problem, unless we make it more interesting and encourage investors to come to Canada, it's going to affect productivity. It's going to trap wages. It's going to affect inflation, because productivity is linked closely with inflation. And ultimately, we're all going to suffer as a result. So anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Please share, like, subscribe, and follow for more. And if you want to get in touch, send me an email at richarddiaz@icecapassetmanagement.com.